Dabo Swinney was at the ACC spring meetings this week, and Dabo had a lot to say because a lot of people had a lot of things to ask Dabo about, mainly the transfer portal. We talked about this, Jesse, just the other night. Last show, I shared some thoughts. I'm conflicted and always have been conflicted on the whole Dabo transfer portal thing because of reasons that I'll state in just a second. But I don't want you taking my word for it when we have audio from the man himself. So I'm going to play 2 clips for you. And the entire context is there were 4 schools in major college football that took 0 transfer portal players this past cycle. 3 of them were service academy schools, and the 4th was Clemson. And this is not a one-time thing. Clemson has been notoriously resistant to use the portal. Dabo has shared his reasons before. This is just the latest go-around. The first clip is from our friends at SiriusXM. Here's Dabo on why Clemson didn't choose to use the portal.
There's 3 types of players in the portal. I mean, it's really pretty simple. Most of the guys in the portal aren't good enough to play for us.
Yeah.
That's just the reality of it. The second type of guy that goes in the portal is he's only going in the portal as a formality because the deal's already been done. Mm-hmm. He knows where he's going before he ever goes in the portal. So we're not getting that guy. Mm-hmm. And then the third type of guy is going in the portal just to see what he can get. And we're never going to win that war.
Nothing he said's wrong. Nothing he said's wrong. You see, I always tell you guys, it's one thing to criticize a coach when you know he can't fight back. But I have maintained and had this argument with a buddy of mine the other day. If you could ever sit across from this man, he would sell you pretty quickly on his approach. He would sell most of you on his approach because he's convicted in it. I don't agree with a lot of it, but he's convicted in it. So let me tell you, he just said something. I don't know if you caught it. He said, guys are in the portal because most of them aren't good enough to play at Clemson. Dead on the money accurate? I would not argue for a moment with him on that. I would argue that most of them aren't the ones you should be looking at. The few who can play at Clemson are the ones you should be looking at, and it's kind of sort of a dereliction of duty not to look at them. My opinion on that. The second thing he said is he started to describe the kind of player in the portal. The first one is normally not good enough. He's right. Like 90+% of the portal kids could not play at Clemson. Forget about them. Filter them out. It's no different than you do recruiting high school, man. Most of them in high school can't play for you either, but a few of them can. Those are the ones you target. Those are the ones you offer. The second type, he said, was the type where they go in the portal and they have the do not contact tag, which means it's a formality and it's already been decided. Well, how could we do anything about that? Tamper with them. Tamper with them. That's how you do something about it. You play the back channel game. Dabo's telling you, nope, we're not going to do that. So he is standing on principle. He is telling you, despite the fact that virtually everyone else is doing this, there's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit sign there, and they're doing 62, and they're doing 68, and they're doing 71. No one's doing 55. We're going to do 55. Us and the service academies are going to do 55. If that's your values, that's your principles, have at it. I'm just telling you, there is a way around that, and it's one that quite literally everyone else is doing. But, Josh, just because everyone's doing something doesn't make it right. I didn't say it did. That's why I'm conflicted on it. Number 3, he said the third kind of kid is just in the portal looking to see how much he can make, and he said we're never going to win that. Well, why? Why? Not pay them. That's how you win it. You either tamper with them before they enter the portal, or when they do, you go pay them enough money. But if you don't want to do those things, then you don't have to do those things. Dabo Swinney is, I think, misunderstood a lot. There's a lot I love about Dabo Swinney. I mean, I love that he's in college football. There's a lot I love about Dabo Swinney, period, because you see, he's not stupid. Some of you listen to this and you think, oh, man, this man's just let the game pass him by. He doesn't even know what he's saying. I'll get back to that in a second. But there was another clip from Dabo on ACC Network, and he kind of went even further into this. Now, this one got some eye rolls, but I didn't roll my eyes at it. I'm going to play it for you. I'll talk about it when we come back.
Well, it wasn't really necessarily like a intentional thing. There's a couple guys we looked at, but, you know, they got to love you, too.
But it also tells us you like where you're at, and you like
Yeah, that's what people, that's the other part of it. And honestly, every player is technically a transfer. You know, we just signed a whole class of guys transferring from high school. So we like our guys. We like our starters. We look at every position and we say, okay, you've got, Coach Reed, you're going to get, 2 corners. Do you want to train? No, sir. I like my guys.
Y'all think he's getting played. He's not getting played. He's dead intentional about what he's doing. Every kid we took's a transfer. They all transfer from high school. This is chapter 2 of the Dabo, the way he goes about doing things. It used to be little old Clemson. That was version 1, where he kept on saying this, and it drove a lot of you crazy, me included. But I realized he knows exactly what he's doing with this. I'm not going to let this get to me anymore. He's got some of you on this, because I saw some folks in my industry take to their Twitter accounts or go on their shows and start bashing him. Is he stupid or something? He's not stupid. He's actually very shrewd. He's very cerebral. He's very smart and intentional about what they're doing. What you have here is you've got a situation where a guy in a program has been ultra successful doing things a certain way, and they're resistant to compromise it. Once upon a time, Blockbuster was that way. And you don't see Blockbuster on the street corner anymore. Okay, so they believed in a way of doing things, and then it was reinforced because it worked a long time. Then it didn't. And I don't know that Clemson's going to be Blockbuster is the point. I just know we have cautionary tales in the past of someone being reinforced because a way they did things worked, and then they just hit pause. They refused to move, to adjust, to evolve, and they died. Is this an adapt or die situation? Or is this a stick to your principles and the rest will fade away and you'll be there at the end? Because you know what? In a different vein, we just learned this lesson a different way. You can talk about the Blockbusters all you want to, but just as soon as I could point that out, you could come back at me and you could say, yeah, what about Jim Harbaugh, though? Jim Harbaugh, what do I mean by that? Well, back in 2020, everyone was ready to run that guy out of town on a rail. And hey, if Harbaugh keeps his job, boy, he's got to overhaul everything, doesn't he? Well, he did keep his job. And he didn't overhaul everything. In fact, Jim Harbaugh dug his heels in and said, if I'm going down doing it the way I believe it should be done. And instead of going down, they actually went down in history. They won 3 consecutive conference titles. They beat Ohio State back to back to back, and they just cleaned the confetti up in Houston from where they won a national championship. So Dabo Swinney probably looks at that and says, no, that guy stuck to his guns. Look what it got him. I'm going to stick to mine. I'm really conflicted on this, have been for a long time, because I got all the respect in the world for people who are convicted in their beliefs and they stick with them even when they're not popular. There's not enough of that in that profession. There's not enough of that in our society. So I've got all the respect in the world for it. There is a fine line between conviction in beliefs and dereliction of duty as a leader of an organization. And I'm not sure where the line is. But I think Dabo finds himself slightly on the wrong side of it sometimes. I think at this point, that dude's not changing his opinion on this. This is not, it's not for show. He may have a smile on his face when he talks about it, but I can guarantee you there is an extremely competitive layer of Dabo Swinney who looks at everyone and he sees in you or me or anyone else who questions him, he sees the same folks who probably told him he couldn't do stuff growing up. Dabo Swinney's not supposed to be where he is. Like, Dabo Swinney is a multimillionaire, multiple-time national championship winning head coach who long ago should have been cast aside, and he just kept on. He just kept on getting out of bed and kept on getting after it and probably had doubters as high as the tallest building in Birmingham, Alabama, where he's from. Just kept going. And so he's already done it his way his whole life. Like, he's flown in the face of convention. He's flown in the face of folks telling him to do it another way his whole life, and it's worked for him. So you got to understand something. This isn't just some attitude that he comes up with on a whim. It's him. It's his way of life. And I can't blame people who have been wired very intentionally in one way for sticking to their guns in times like these. And also, you know, he probably looks around and as much as you could see like a Keon Coleman come in and transform Florida State and up their production and productivity, and Florida State's taken guys in the portal in general who have done that. Dabo probably looks around, and Dabo's privy to information you're not, and I'm not, about back channeling amongst coaches and how disastrous some portal additions have been to locker rooms. And he looks around and he says, we're not a disaster here right now. It'd be one thing if Clemson was, fighting to keep their nose above water. They're not. He looks at his organization and says, we've done it before. We're just a few degrees off right now, but we'll get it fixed and we'll do it again. And he may. It's not like a 0% chance that he never gets back, even if they don't use the portal. I just think he doesn't put himself in the best position to get there by not using the portal. But I'm really conflicted on it because I also really respect the guy for just how he goes about his business.